Que os diga Paul Bonacci quién es Michael Aquino.
Okay,
They
so
set up the engagements and the encounters with the person. I simply was told to, when they program the personalities, or the triggers, as I called them, they would call me up and they would use a code. I would simply switch into that trigger, go to where they told me to go, whether it would be or get on an airplane because they would already have the tickets there. They would have the tickets there under a name that only that trigger would know, and go to wherever it was. There would be somebody waiting for them in that city and take them to wherever it was that they were supposed to go, bring them back to the airport, put them on the plane. They would come back home, and as soon as they walked in the door, the memory of everything that had just happened would be erased
gone.
completely.
Now I'm going to ask you, what triggered the arrival or development or birth of your personality, West Lee, in 1974?
I cannot give that information under direct orders.
Orders by whom?
I cannot say.
Mr. DeCamp, would you please instruct your client when he has to answer these questions?
Yes. You're supposed to answer these questions. Does this have to do with Monarch?
Yes.
If I use the code, will that help? Which I just obtained in the last hour. D6413782, program XPY Eagle Alex Hope. Please go ahead and answer all questions.
I was created by a government program,
Which government program?
Monarch.
And what is Monarch?
Monarch is an operation that was created by the United States government to create spies for other countries. They use children for the purpose that they're easily integrated into multiple personalities because they can dissociate. Monarch is a program that is run by Michael Angelo Aquino, who was an Army Reserve colonel at Presidio. He is also the leader of the Temple of Set. He also runs a child daycare center. He also is involved in human sacrifice.
Nacido en 1946, Michael Aquino era un oficial de inteligencia militar especializado en guerra psicológica. En 1969 se unió a la Iglesia de Satanás de Anton LaVey y se elevó rápidamente a través de las filas del grupo. En sus tiempos de miembro del grupo de LaVey, Aquino era un especialista del ejército en inteligencia y guerra psicológica. En 1973, Aquino pasó a director ejecutivo del Batallón 306 de Operaciones Psicológicas, simultáneamente a la fundación de la Iglesia de Set. El general Michael Aquino escribió de las PSYOPs a la guerra mental, la psicología de la victoria. Aquino sostenía que las poblaciones enemigas podían ser sometidas al infligir un estado de terror psicológico y sentimientos de destrucción inminente en ellas. La rendición del enemigo podía ser inducida sin ser necesario disparar una sola bala, gracias a señales de frecuencia extremadamente baja, ya fuera a través de la radio, la televisión o comunicaciones por microondas. Para manipular los pensamientos y sentimientos de la población objetivo, en los años 60 Aquino tuvo un papel preponderante en la Iglesia de Satán como amigo íntimo de Anton LaVey, hasta que él creó su propia Iglesia de Set. Un informe de los servicios de inteligencia policial de 1981 dice: la Iglesia de Set es un grupo con centenares de miembros que opera a nivel nacional. A finales de los años 80, Aquino fue acusado por el Departamento de Policía de San Francisco por estar implicado en abusos satánicos en la base militar de Presidium, donde Aquino estaba en esos tiempos. Había 68 víctimas probables, muchas de las cuales habían contraído enfermedades venéreas. 22 familias se gastaron $66 millones en acusaciones contra el ejército, imputando a Aquino con cargos criminales que habían sido enterrados por la Armada. El general Aquino admitió sus visitas al castillo alemán donde se formaron las SS, reactivando y reviviendo una ceremonia secreta secundado por sus oficiales rodeados de imaginería y vestimenta nazi. Tanto la iglesia de Satán como la iglesia de Set, así como otros cultos escondidos dentro de organizaciones de suma importancia, son sistemas paralelos con su propio sistema de creencias absolutamente separado de la escala de valores que la gran mayoría de la gente da por segura. Estos sistemas permiten que grandes poblaciones sean manipuladas para realizar actos antisociales, que la mayoría de personas no aceptarían. Aquino participó principalmente en la actividad de desarrollo del MKUltra en Vietnam, como parte del programa Phoenix en los años 60. Estas continuas operaciones de MKUltra son de contrainsurgencia e infiltración, así como de desestabilización de los Estados Unidos y otras naciones industrializadas. Muchos cultos han sido utilizados por el general Aquino o sus socios para continuar las operaciones de MKUltra fuera de laboratorio.
Do you have any knowledge about whether the Monarch operation involves a United States sponsorship or whether it's just simply coincidental that many of the members of Monarch happen to be working for the government?
I am not aware of Monarch's true producer. In words, I know that all of its leaders are politically inclined and are current and or members of Congress, the Senate, or in high places in Russia.
Are these individuals affiliated with NAMBLA?
A few.
You were looking out into space and your eyes were darting around. Can you describe for me what thought process you were just going through?
I have a process in my head that attempts to connect each memory with the person or group that they were involved with. What that means is I had to go through and look at Monarch and to see which individuals that Monarch was involved with and to see if NAMBLA came up on the list.
Do you conceptualize your thought process as similar or analogous to that of a computer?
Yes.
Did you understand Mr. Aquino to be working on behalf of the United States or against the United States?
I believed he was working on behalf of the United States.
So some segment of the United States was trying to take over the United States government?
The plan that Aquino had in it was he wanted to usher in the Antichrist, which is talked about in the Bible.
This was a government-sponsored program?
Yes.
Okay. You were 7 years old at the time that you were recruited?
I was actually 3 years old when it first began, but I was not created until later on.
Who created you?
I was created by Monarch.
Do you mean Mr. Aquino? Who in Monarch created you?
I was created by Monarch. I do not know who.
What were you told when you were 4 years old that you recall now about the Monarch program?
When I first got involved, I was molested by an airman from Offutt Air Force Base who was involved in Monarch. His job was to recruit kids from the local neighborhood who he could make dissociate by doing traumatic things to them at a very young age. Later on, when they get to school age, they would simply pick me up at school, and I would simply miss a day or two for training.
Do you want to be called Mr. Bonacci or Wesley?
Wesley.
Wesley, how many other are you integrated?
Not at all.
Now, initially we were told by Paul that everyone was integrated into one personality except for Mikey and Puppy the Jungle Boy.
Yes.
Do you recall that testimony that was given by
Yes.
Mr. Bonacci?
And that was his belief.
But now you're telling me that that's not accurate. Is that correct?
No, it's not accurate.
What is accurate as far as the personalities that are not integrated?
You see, I've never considered myself a personality. That's why when Paul said that all the personalities were integrated, he was actually accurate. But I'm not. Or I don't feel like I'm a personality of him. I feel like I'm a separate person.
What was the purpose of targeting Larry King, as you understand it?
Larry King was targeted because he had, in fact, already organized a group called, with Craig Spence in Washington, D.C., Cowboys or Bodies by God, which were organizations where men or boys were supplied to political leaders from both the United States and to foreign countries.
And they stopped asking you at that point to conduct operations?
No, they attempted to correct the problem, but in April of 1986, when it became public, they then attempted to destroy all their information by using phone calls to myself, which would start the process of eliminating memories.
Did you feel that you were personally at risk in 1986 from members of the Monarch operation?
Not at the start, no.
How did they attempt to correct the situation before they decided to terminate the operation?
In 1989, they attempted to reprogram, and they started to do this. I started to go to military bases, and I would simply, and this is noted by my family and my grandmother who I lived with, I would simply disappear for days at a time, and nobody would know where I was, and I would come back completely unaware of my events. And what they were attempting to do was try and get me reintegrated into their program. And in 1989, shortly before my arrest, I was to target Alan Bear once again.
Which military bases did you go to in 1989 for reprogramming?
I went to Presidio, I went to Fort Riley, Kansas, and to Fort
What?
Ent Air Force Base, Colorado, where the North American Air Defense Command.
Do you recall what city that was in?
It was near Colorado Springs.
And again, do you recall the names of any of the individuals who tried to reprogram you in 1989?
Colonel Michael Angelo Aquino himself attempted to do so.